April the 30th, the last day of autism awareness. If only. If you have a child who has autism, prepare for battle, because everything is a fight. Now, I don't know why anybody thinks it's okay to make the parents and carers of children and adults who have autism to have to fight for everything, but it appears to be the norm across not just this country, globally. You have to fight for the right education, you have to fight for the right levels of support, you have to fight for respite, you have to fight for healthcare to be delivered differently. Everything is a fight. And you, as the parent or carer, you have to fight. You have to for your child. It's hard enough being the parent or carer of a child or young person with autism. You're tired all the time, especially if they don't sleep, and so many people on the spectrum don't sleep. And if they're awake, you're awake. And emotionally, it's draining. You watch your friends' children go through all the normal milestones, primary school, all those class parties that your child doesn't get invited to, going on to secondary school with their peer group, sitting their GCSEs, their A-levels. It seems to me that everybody on Facebook has got A-star students. I haven't. But, the world according to social media, everybody's brilliant. Then they have their driving lesson and they get a boyfriend or girlfriend, and then they get their heart broken and they're off to university. And your child isn't. Your child's still with you. And I hear so many people say, "Oh, I wish they didn't have to grow up." I'll take it from me. No, you don't. You wish they would grow up. You really wish that they would grow up with their peer group and achieve all the things that you'd hoped for them when they were born. So, you need the right educational setting. It's absolutely imperative to everything they'll ever achieve. And just because they're on the autistic spectrum doesn't mean they're not going to achieve. They're going to blossom and they're going to achieve everything that they're able to do, but they need you behind them, battling for them to make sure they can. To get the right educational setting, you need an educational psychologist, and quite often a speech and language therapist and an occupational therapist and possibly a clinical psychologist. And you need a complement of their reports. But it's the educational psychologist who will say which is the best learning environment for your child. When I was changing Kieran's schools, he had to change at year 6 because his current school was being knocked down and rebuilt, and they said he wouldn't manage the transition from one school to another and back again. So I got all the therapists involved to write Kieran's report so that I would know the right school to find for him going into year 7. And the educational psychologist wrote on his report that he would benefit from an autism-specific environment. No, ambiguous. I would benefit from winning the lottery. I don't need to. I would definitely benefit from it. It's a huge difference. So I said to them, no, change that. He needs an autistic-specific environment. He absolutely does. To enable him to become the best person he can be, everybody in his school needs to be fully aware of the interventions that they use for children like Kieran. So she changed the wording. And that's really, really important because the school that our borough wanted Kieran to go to is not autism specific, and it could not meet his needs, but it was cheap. And there was no way he was going to that school. Absolutely no way on this earth. And it took me 11 months fighting with the local authority to get him into the school he currently goes to. I visited 14 different schools, and I had all of his up-to-date reports, and I had made sure that the terminology in them was absolutely Kieran specific, so that I could make a report about which schools would meet his needs, would partially meet his needs, and could not meet his needs. Because the only way I could get him into the school that I really wanted for him was to ensure that we could say the schools they wanted could not meet his needs. And honestly, it takes forever. But you have to do this. You really have to do this. It makes such a difference to the whole rest of their life. If they're in the right school, the right educational setting, they're going to get the best opportunities to achieve their best potential. And it's the same for all of our children. You know, I did the same for Daniel the following year when he was changing into year 7. I made sure that he went to a school that suited him. And it's not just about our children who are on the spectrum. It's just a much harder fight. Recently, I've had battle with adult services and children's services to transition Kieran over to his adult package, and that has taken me 18 months of fighting. When our local borough decided it was a really good idea to close down the only overnight respite for children with special needs in our borough, 6 other parents and I fought with the local authority for funding for a new premises. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're tired, we're emotionally drained, and we're physically drained. And, you know, we're mentally drained as well. This constant battling, them turning us into this person we don't want to be, just to get what our children are entitled to. You know, it's shameful, really. It is shameful. I think if you're watching this and you work in education or you work for a local borough and you can influence the way that decisions are made to support families like mine and to support young people like Kieran, you need to think long and hard about how you do things and how your decisions at work impact on the entire family life of people who need your support. If you're going to be in the game, have some empathy, or at least some sympathy, and work with the parents, because this is key. Parents do know best. They really do. It's great that we've got so many healthcare professionals and so many educational professionals helping us. And it's great that they've studied and they've learned and they've compared other people's stories and they've got this degree in this life skill that they're going to help our families with. But we live this. We know our children. We know them so well. And if we're telling you that that school won't meet their needs, that it's going to actually be so painful for them to be in that environment because of the sensory overload, please listen to us. We do know. And I'm not just talking about Kieran really, because one thing autism has gifted me is a group of really good friends. I know so many people with children who have autism and varying degrees of autism, some very severe like Kieran, and some much milder where they're able to manage a mainstream environment and go on to drive and go to university and have jobs. You know, it's not necessarily nothing's ever going to improve. It's very different for everybody. But all of them, all of the parents, wherever their children are on the spectrum, have had to fight. So it's not good news. Not only have you got a child with a disability, which is heart-wrenching news that you're going to live with and you're going to be their champion, but seriously, tin hat, get your boxing gloves out, because you are going into battle and you are going to fight for your child and you are going to get them what they need. And you're not going to be in denial and think they're going to grow out of it or make excuses for their behaviours. It's because of this or because of that. If you think they're on the spectrum, get them diagnosed. Without that diagnosis, you can't get the help that they need. And without those reports from the healthcare professionals and the educational professionals, you cannot get the right settings and environment for them. There are limited places out there for children like ours, and there are lots of different types of special schools. You need to find the right one for your child. You need to find the right one for your child, and you need to battle for it. And it's worth it. Trust me, it's absolutely worth it. I've been fighting with everybody now 16 years. I still got fight in me. It's just so important when you have a child who doesn't have a voice, that you have that voice. And talk to other parents and they will help you. My friends help me all the time, and I don't ever have to attend any meetings or anything on my own. I've always got somebody with me because they can pick up on things that I didn't pick up on, and because I'm so emotionally attached, they can have a more pragmatic and practical view of what's being said. So take a friend, and if it's on a Zoom, take me. I'll battle. I know that sounds like bad news. That's not the best news. It's not the worst news. Just be prepared. Get out there. Get what's best for your child, your young person, and help them to be the very best they can be, because that's all any of us want as parents and carers. That is all any of us want. Thank goodness autism awareness is over, hey? God bless.